From a door-to-door fax machine salesperson with $5,000 in savings to the youngest self-made female billionaire on the Forbes list. Today, a global shapewear brand that rewrote an industry. But the path wasn't what anyone expected. There's one decision Sara Blakely made that changed everything. Most people never see it coming. The story begins in Clearwater, Florida. Sara Blakely was born on February 27, 1971, and grew up in a household that valued persistence. According to multiple interviews, including profiles in Forbes and Inc., encouragement at the dinner table often focused on what went wrong that day, what failed, and what was learned. That simple prompt shaped a mindset of experimentation and resilience that would matter later. After high school, Blakely attended Florida State University. As reported by Forbes, she graduated with a communications degree. The plan was law school. She took the LSAT twice and did not achieve the score she needed. That forced a pivot. She took a job at Walt Disney World for a short period and performed stand-up comedy on the side, as later recounted in interviews reported by Forbes and NPR. There was no clear path to an empire. Just a series of attempts to figure out what fit. The first real training ground wasn't glamorous. It was a job at Danker, a company selling fax machines and office equipment, where Blakely went door to door in Florida office parks. As reported by Forbes and NPR's How I Built This, she faced rejection every day. It turned into a masterclass in cold calling, resilience, and reading customers. That job lasted about 7 years. For many, it would be a footnote in a long corporate career. For Blakely, it was research. The problem she observed had nothing to do with fax machines. It was about the way clothes looked and felt on real people. She wanted a smooth silhouette under white pants without visible panty lines or thick seams. Available options didn't work well enough. According to NPR and Forbes, on the night of a party in her late 20s, she cut the feet off a pair of pantyhose to wear under her trousers. It solved the immediate problem, but introduced others. The improvisation was crude. The concept was clear. A personal pain point is often the seed of a product. This one was also a category blind spot. Hosiery had long been made by companies that didn't prioritize what Blakely wanted: comfort, invisibility, and control without pinching. As reported by Forbes, she began the search for a manufacturer to make a prototype of footless pantyhose. She called mills in North Carolina, the center of American hosiery manufacturing, and heard no after no. The rejection was familiar from years of cold calling. The response was the same: keep going. The pivotal moment arrived when one mill owner said yes after consulting his daughters. The story has been recounted consistently in interviews and profiles, including NPR and Forbes: repeated rejections, a final call, and a shift after someone in the decision-maker's life understood the product's value. It became a pattern. When gatekeepers didn't understand, end users did. Blakely was frugal and precise. According to reporting by Forbes and CNBC, she wrote her own patent application with the help of a book and paid a relatively modest fee to a patent attorney to finalize the claims. She trademarked the name Spanx, deliberately choosing a spelling with an X for a punchy sound and brand memorability, as she has explained in multiple interviews. The domain name was purchased. Packaging was sketched. The company's first office was her apartment in Atlanta. The starting capital, as reported by Forbes, was $5,000 in savings. Initial skepticism was everywhere. The hosiery industry was established. Retail buyers had rules and categories. Shapewear was either uncomfortable or hidden in back corners of stores. Blakely's pitch was a new use case in a category that wasn't expecting it. The idea that a solo founder could break into national retail with a single product, without outside capital or industry connections, sounded like a long shot. The early question was simple: who would take the first bet? Blakely's answer was to create the opportunity. According to accounts reported by Forbes and the New York Times, she booked meetings with department store buyers. The pitch was direct. It culminated in a now famous meeting at Neiman Marcus, where she asked the buyer to step into a ladies' room so she could demonstrate the product's before and after effect under white pants. The demonstration worked. A test order followed. A standard gate had opened through an unorthodox door. But Sara Blakely was about to make a move that would change everything, because the right distribution at the right moment can turn a clever product into a phenomenon. The breakthrough was not only a product, it was a sequence of strategic choices that amplified each other. The contrarian insight was that shapewear could be reframed from something hidden and dreaded to something visible in brand and joyful in tone. The category was functional and serious. Spanx packaging and copy were cheeky and approachable. As reported by Forbes, Blakely designed red packaging that popped on shelves and used playful language. This wasn't an accident. It made a vague category understandable at a glance. The product itself was different. It wasn't just tighter hosiery. It was an underlayer engineered to smooth lines in a way that fit modern wardrobes. According to NPR's interview and various profiles, the first product, footless pantyhose, addressed a need existing solutions ignored. Word of mouth was strong because the problem was common and solution obvious once seen. Early traction came from retail tests. Neiman Marcus placed Spanx in select stores. Buyers at other retailers, including Saks Fifth Avenue, Bloomingdale's, and Bergdorf Goodman, followed soon after, as reported by Forbes. Placement mattered. Blakely understood that the product had to be easy to find and demonstrate. According to multiple accounts, she did in-store trainings with sales associates and sent personal notes to build grassroots momentum inside retail floors. The catalytic moment arrived in 2000 when Oprah Winfrey named Spanx one of her favorite things. The endorsement, as reported by Forbes and Business Insider, created a national wave of awareness. Orders surged. Retailers expanded. A small operation with one product became a brand that customers asked for by name. The Oprah effect was extraordinary, but it did not happen in a vacuum. It landed on a match of product, message, and timing that Blakely had already set in motion. The strategy that followed was disciplined and bootstrapped. According to Forbes, Blakely did not take outside investment in Spanx during its first decade plus of growth. She reinvested profits to fund product development and inventory. The operation scaled carefully. New products, controlled top pantyhose, shaping camisoles, then brass, leggings, and activewear, extended the brand without diluting what it stood for. Each edition was designed to solve a related problem and benefit from the same channel relationships. Marketing continued to lean on storytelling and direct demonstration. As reported by Inc. and NPR, Blakely appeared on television segments to show how Spanx worked under everyday clothes. The brand spoke in a way other brands did not. Humor lowered the barrier to discussing something many customers were shy about. It created permission to buy. Meanwhile, the company professionalized operations. Manufacturing relationships expanded. Quality control processes were established to maintain fit across sizes and styles. Distribution grew across department stores and eventually into direct-to-consumer channels. A single product had become a platform. The pattern that emerged was systematic rather than lucky. Identify a common problem through lived experience. Prototype scrappily. Sell directly to decision makers. Use clever storytelling to make the fix obvious. Reinforce credibility through marquee endorsements. Reinvest profits to expand thoughtfully into adjacent categories. Stay close to the customer. But success was about to attract unwanted attention, because when a new category grows, incumbents respond, copycats appear, and execution becomes the defense. The bigger the opportunity, the sharper the competition. As Spanx's momentum grew, so did the challenges that threatened to slow or derail it. The first pressure was competitive. As reported by the Wall Street Journal and Women's Wear Daily over the years, established hosiery and lingerie brands launched their own shapewear lines as the category exploded. Copycat products appeared rapidly, sometimes echoing Spanx's features, sometimes cutting price. For a brand built on a novel solution, the question became, how to defend and differentiate. Spanx used a mix of product development, intellectual property, and brand equity. According to public trademark records and press accounts, the company protected marks, names, and certain design elements. It continued to iterate materials and fits. But much of the defense came from the strength of consumer trust, harder to replicate than a seam. The second pressure was operational. Scaling manufacturing while maintaining quality is difficult for any apparel company. For shapewear, fit is the product. A minor deviation in fabric or pattern can undermine performance. As reported in business profiles, maintaining consistency across suppliers and seasons required investment in processes, testing, and oversight. With a small team and no outside equity in the early years, those investments had to come from operating margins. Retail dynamics presented a third set of challenges. Department stores reorganized categories. Shelf placement and floor merchandising were negotiated daily. As reported by Forbes and retail trade outlets, brands fight for visibility through co-op advertising, displays, and associate education. For a company that had grown by scrappy, founder-led selling, the task was to institutionalize what worked at scale without losing authenticity. Economic cycles added uncertainty. The early 2000s and the 2008-2009 downturn tested consumer demand. Apparel is cyclical. Yet shapewear sat at a consistent price point and delivered a visible benefit, which helped maintain relevance. Though specific month-to-month performance is not public, the brand emerged from those periods with expanded product lines and more doors. Legal and market noise are constant in consumer categories. Over the years, Spanx was involved in industry disputes typical of growing brands. The key pattern visible from reporting is the company's focus on innovation, branding, and distribution execution rather than distractions that drift from the customer. Meanwhile, behind the scenes, an important foundation was being laid. Philanthropy and a public commitment to broader impact anchored the brand in something larger than quarterly sales. In 2006, Blakely launched the Sara Blakely Foundation to support women through education and entrepreneurship, as noted on the foundation's site and in Forbes. In 2013, she joined the Giving Pledge, committing to donate at least half her wealth to charitable causes, as documented by the Giving Pledge organization. These moves did not make operational challenges easier. They clarified the values guiding decisions when choices were hard. The outcome was far from certain, but what happened next surprised everyone, not because of a twist in the product, but because of compounding over decades. The Empire chapter is the long arc, expansion, recognition, institutional milestones, and the kind of brand permanence that outlives fashion cycles. Spanx expanded well beyond the original footless pantyhose. According to company statements and industry coverage, the product range came to include a wide variety of shapewear, activewear, leggings, denim, brass, and loungewear. Each category extension used the same principle: smooth lines, comfort, confidence, applied to new garments. The brand moved from problem solver to wardrobe staple. Distribution scaled across department stores, specialty boutiques, and e-commerce. As reported by Forbes and retail publications, Spanx products became mainstays at leading retailers and on the brand's own site. The tone stayed consistent: approachable, clever, and focused on how clothes feel and look on real bodies. Recognition followed. In 2012, Forbes named Sara Blakely the world's youngest self-made female billionaire at age 41, based on Spanx's success and her continued ownership stake, as reported by Forbes that year. Around the same time, Time included her on the Time 100 list of the most influential people, as reported by Time. These acknowledgements did not create the success, they reflected it. A signature institutional moment arrived in 2021. Private equity firm Blackstone announced a deal to acquire a majority stake in Spanx at a valuation of $1.20 billion, as reported by CNBC and Blackstone's press release. According to CNBC, Blakely celebrated by gifting Spanx employees 2 first-class plane tickets to anywhere in the world and $10,000 each. The gesture made headlines because it said something about how the company viewed its people, and because it marked a transition from founder-led private brand to a platform with outside partners for the next chapter. Philanthropy also scaled. In 2020, in response to the pandemic, Blakely launched the Red Backpack Fund with global giving, providing $5,000 grants to female entrepreneurs across the United States, as reported by Global Giving and Fast Company. The initiative supported thousands of founders navigating crisis. The Sara Blakely Foundation continued its work supporting women globally. The compounding effect is visible beyond numbers. Spanx shifted how the apparel industry treats shapewear and conversation around it. What had been hidden became openly discussed. The brand normalized a product category that many consumers felt uncomfortable addressing, which in turn opened space for more innovation. In the broader entrepreneurship playbook, Spanx became a proof point for bootstrapped, founder-led consumer brands that scale without early outside capital. According to Forbes, Blakely's net worth has fluctuated with markets and business events, but remains in the billionaire or near billionaire range in recent years, reflecting the value created. Public estimates vary by year, but the enduring note is the durability of the brand and the portfolio built from a $5,000 starting stake. Meanwhile, behind the scenes, the company continued to hire, iterate, and market. A new generation discovered the brand through social media, influencers, and digital retail. The tone remained unmistakably Spanx: confident, humorous, and clear about the problem it solves. But here's what this actually means for anyone watching. The origin story is inspiring, yet the power lies in the replicable mechanics hiding in plain sight. A handful of principles explain why Sara Blakely's approach worked, and why it wasn't just luck or timing. Start with a real problem experienced firsthand. Blakely built Spanx to solve a specific wardrobe issue. That anchor kept product decisions focused. The lesson: the clearest product market fit often starts with a personal pain point that millions share. Use scrappy prototyping to test the idea. Cutting the feet off pantyhose was crude but revealing. Early tests do not need to be perfect. They need to expose what matters. This reduces wasted time and points to the minimum viable product that customers will care about. Tell the simplest story that customers can repeat. Spanx's core promise, smooth lines under clothes, was not technical. It was visual, demonstrable, and easy to explain. The brand's tone made conversations about a sensitive topic feel normal. In crowded markets, clarity and memorability beat complexity. Go directly to decision makers and demonstrate. Blakely's restroom demonstration for a Neiman Marcus buyer is now legend because it distills a playbook: remove abstraction, show the difference, and reduce hesitation. In many categories, a live demo or simple before and after beats slides and jargon. Reinvest early wins into operations and adjacent products. According to Forbes, Spanx avoided outside capital in the early years, compounding profits into inventory, product development, and distribution. Bootstrapping is not always possible, but disciplined reinvestment almost always is. Build brand equity that copycats cannot clone. Features can be imitated. A brand's voice, trust, and relationship with customers are harder to replicate. Spanx's packaging, humor, and consistent performance created defensibility beyond patents. Institutionalize what worked. Training retail staff, codifying quality controls, systematizing customer feedback, these steps turn a founder's instincts into a company's muscle memory. This is how a one-product company becomes a lasting brand. Maintain a long-term view anchored in values. The Sara Blakely Foundation, the Giving Pledge, and initiatives like the Red Backpack Fund signal to employees, partners, and customers that the enterprise is more than transactions. Principles guide trade-offs when growth introduces hard choices. Why it wasn't just luck or privilege becomes clear in the pattern. Repeated choices that favored clarity over complexity, persistence over shortcuts, and customer truth over industry assumptions. The path is demanding but replicable in spirit. What's required to replicate, at any scale, is straightforward to say and challenging to do: a bias to action, tolerance for rejection, curiosity about real customers, and the discipline to reinvest. Capital helps but is not the starting point. Knowledge accumulates with each conversation. Execution compounds. Modern applicability remains high. In an era of e-commerce and social platforms, founders can demonstrate, tell stories, and build communities at low cost. Retail is still relevant, but distribution is now a spectrum that includes direct-to-consumer, marketplaces, and strategic partners. The Spanx lesson travels: make something people already wanted but couldn't find, and then make it easy, relatable, and consistent. But that's not the full picture. There is an underlying architecture that recurs across self-made fortunes, consumer or otherwise. The surface details change. The structure endures. It's what most people miss about how Sara Blakely did this. There's a pattern. A strategy hiding in plain sight. The Forbes 400 know it. They exploit it. They've built fortunes with it. It breaks down into 4 proven deployment methods that multiplies wealth systematically. First link in the description. Watch it next. 10 minutes that could change everything.